I know you guys. You guys know me. You guys know me. You know I've actually made videos about, you know, the whole Jimmy Dore, the force the vote shit, and you guys know that I was one of those people that was against the force to vote because there was no plan to it. It was no rhyme, no reason. It's just like it is one of those things where the force to vote was just somebody idiotic ego stroke of throwing a tantrum like, look at what I did. And yeah. Yeah. What's up, Stingray Cool? Um it was fucking stupid, and it was just Jimmy's whole I need to actually get views to my channel, and we actually saw the result of it. He started doing things like going on Tucker Carlson and having and platforming Proud Boys and all this good shit like this. And a lot of people were sitting back and saying that the right was actually eating this shit up. Now, I'm not somebody who says that we shouldn't have, any conflict on the left. As a matter of fact, I am somebody who feels that we should definitely highlight the conflicting things between, people on the left like me and these fucking tankies that are basically just red fascists that deny genocide and just want to praise and highlight their particular brand of fucking totalitarian. But what happens when you're looking at from the outside when people on the left are fighting? Well, this is this video I found by this gentleman, and it's actually pretty interesting, and it gives you a mindset of what the people on the right saw when they saw force to vote. So let's go ahead and watch.
And no, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to say it. The force to vote people. They're like, oh, now you agree with forcing a vote. Yeah, dumb on a $15 minimum wage where you could actually win. It's right around the corner if you fight now instead of, oh, Medicare for all. No one in Congress has, Biden says it's a hard no. No one's even going to introduce it. And we're going to pick a random dumbass thing where we're doing a ceremonial vote on Pelosi. And we're going to say, hey, why don't you push all your chips in on the dumbest vote possible, which will have no effect at all, right?
Well, yeah, that actually, I have to agree with the man here. Force to vote to get rid of Nancy Pelosi as a speaker was fucking stupid. I have to. It was just so fucking stupid. The reason why, because it was no plan. It was no contingency plan. Well, maybe this will happen and maybe this will happen. No plan. And if it came over Speaker of the House versus giving people a fucking $15 minimum wage, guess which one I'm falling under? Guess which one? Guess which one is more important? Cash in all of your political chips. Guess which one was something that not only did progressives actually fought over, but it was actually spoken about in the media at least a little bit better than it normally is. But let's see how this turned out. And let's see what the poster of this video is talking about. Let's go.
And then since they're dumb, they can't tell the difference between something that could work and something that has no chance of working, something that's symbolic and something that's real.
Remember at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, right around the time the new Congress was sworn in, there was an online movement called Force the Vote. I'm assuming most of you do. It was a pretty big deal in YouTube politics, and there was plenty of drama. Even I made a video about it at the time. But just in case you've forgotten, allow me to do a very quick recap of what went down. Hashtag Force the Vote was an online movement led by Jimmy Dore, which a number of other leftists hopped onto. The idea was that, since the Democrats' majority in the House was razor thin, the Justice Democrats and other progressives in the House could refuse to vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker unless she agreed to grant a floor vote on Pramila Jayapal's Medicare for All bill.
So that's actually a pretty good representation of what happened during the forced to vote. Let's go.
Mentality behind this was that since Americans already support Medicare for all, as the polling supposedly shows, and since we're in the middle of a pandemic where many people have lost their jobs and the healthcare benefits they had along with it, and since the left would never have more leverage than they did at the time, this would be a great opportunity to put Medicare for all front and center. Jimmy genuinely thought that, under these circumstances, that if Medicare for all...
Now, mind you, you have Jimmy Dore on the video, and also with Brianna Joy Gray, somebody who's also feigns outrage to help support her motherfucking channel and fucking her livelihood. Because remember, as soon as Bernie lost the primary, Brianna Joy Gray went full motherfucking batshit crazy. But let's continue.
Got a floor vote, it would pass.
So if they do this now, it'll be amazing because I bet it passes. I have this idea that politicians in the middle of a deadly pandemic where 19 million people are about to get kicked out of their house and it's 15 million people just lost their health care, that they're going to stand up and while they have health care, tell the rest of the country to go pound sand. That is going to be a spark moment for social unrest. If that happens, that will bring us Medicare for all and maybe a real revolution. I want to see that happen.
Now, mind you, what Jimmy didn't actually tell his audience is, one, he lost. Laws that passed wouldn't exactly take effect the next fucking day. Like, seriously. What Jimmy Dore is actually gassing his audience up for, oh no, the House is going to vote and this is going to go through and Biden was going to sign it, even though Biden said that he wasn't going to sign it. But, no, you like, we're going to do it in the middle of a pandemic. Jimmy Dore, somebody who actively knows and hates the fucking DNC because he feels that they're cowards and weak. And ironically, that most of his complaints are against the women in the DNC, not really the guys. But still, no. It's, it's not, having an issue with women, shit like that. It's because, girl boss, shit like that. But let's go.
I want to see elected Democrats get up and vote against giving people health care in the middle. They're not going to do it. It's going to pass if they bring it for a vote.
Well, others were not nearly as optimistic, but
sure, elected officials won't vote against something that is very popular. How long has Jimmy been doing this? I know he's been doing it at least for the last 8 years, or 7 years that I know of. Let's continue.
Still saw an upside.
I would like to think that you're right. I'm a little bit more bearish on that than you are. I don't anticipate it. I'm not invested in this because I think it's going to pass. I think it does provide an opportunity, though, to really expose some folks for the next time around. Because I think the backlash for the people who voted against it, if the media...
Why does that look like a revelation to this motherfucker? Like, wait, it may not. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go.
lead up to it is handled right. If the protest and the movement organizing is handled right and there are clear targets, rhetorical targets, obviously, put on people, then the backlash could be extreme.
Simply bringing the issue to the fore was a benefit in and of itself because it would bring clarity to the situation. Voters would have an idea of where their representatives stood on the issue and would punish or reward them accordingly. While a lot of online leftists supported Force the Vote, not everyone in this space was quite as enthusiastic. Most notably, Sam Seder and Cenk Uygur were among the skeptical. They had their reasons. For one, they believed that it could result in someone further right than Nancy Pelosi becoming speaker. Some people also thought that Medicare for All losing a floor vote, which it almost certainly would have, could damage the long-term prospects of it actually becoming law.
Now, mind you, this is somebody on the fucking right that is literally seeing this shit. Stating that, maybe, like, if a vote comes up and it fucking fails, then what happens? People don't like backing fucking or losing policies or ideas. It can be the fucking rightest policy in the world. But people don't like backing. But you know what? You have to force the vote. Vote on Nancy Pelosi. Even though, as he said, the margins are razor thin. Even though, as Jimmy said, that we're gonna have, like, he didn't get past the what would happen if forcing Nancy Pelosi, forcing a vote against Nancy Pelosi's speakership happened at the end. What happened if it didn't go the magical way that he fucking wanted to do without any planning? Now, mind you, so some of the things you saw, Cenk Uygur, Cal Kalinske, they are people who started the Justice Democrats. They literally had a plan where they're gonna push out the corporate Democrats, the blue dog Democrats, in order to actually encourage more progressive candidates. But what Jimmy Dore did was like, well, you're progressive, so you need to do what every fucking big leftist movement has actually done in politics, is bitch, moan, and cry to make yourself effectively ineffective, and go and do the ooh woo, we need progressive policy bullshit, and keep yourself ideologically pure, because that gets us power. Never mind the prior 2 years where we saw gains from progressive candidates, from the actual progressive what do they call it? Conference or whatever. Whatever. The progressive, I'm losing a word. Conference. Yeah, I think it's conference. Where they've actually made strides and they've actually pushed more things because they didn't go out and do the whole, look at me, I'm socialist, and no, they've had concrete actual gains where they've actually changed the fucking tone and tenor of what's going on, how fucking hearings are actually held. But that wasn't enough for Jimmy because you need to force the vote. But let's get back to the video.
Needless to say, the rift created a lot of drama. Jimmy, being the flamethrower that he is, accused his left-wing detractors of being corporate sellouts who didn't actually want Medicare for All, or simply opposing the strategy for personal reasons, like they weren't on board because they didn't like him personally, or that they were jealous that they didn't think of it themselves.
So whoever tells you that this is a strategy disagreement is either unbelievably naive or covering for someone. This is not a strategy disagreement. Everybody agrees with hashtag force the vote. The people who are against it, it's inexplicable. And you're not supposed to question their motives. I question their motives. Cenk Uygur's on the take. And he's working for the Democratic Party. And he's working for his corporate donors, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Buddy Roemer, right-wingers. He's against Julian Assange. He's a total corporate sellout.
As someone who doesn't think Medicare for All would be a good policy, and who loathes pretty much...
So, let's hear that right-wing take on it. Let's go back just a little bit.
Corporate sellout.
As someone who doesn't think Medicare for All would be a good policy, and who loathes pretty much all of the people involved in this fight, watching this circular firing squad was pure joy. But who had the better arguments? Well, at the beginning of the year, I made a video about how I think it's a poor strategy, even if you like the policy. But I have very different ideas about how politics works than most progressives do. If you share the assumptions of the populist left, as most progressives do, then Jimmy Dore was in the right. As our friend...
So, what's funny is that the motherfucker is literally saying, like, yeah, I want it to fail. So of course I want them to force the vote. This is the shit that people on the fucking left that's constantly online or constantly looking to promote their star, for their brand, to get their money for what they want instead of pushing a cause, actually feed to these right-wing dirt motherfucking bad. But of course, force the vote because you have to be ideologically pure. Because if you don't, then you're a corporate sellout. If you don't if you don't spit every time you say the word Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, then you're a corporate sellout. Because that's how getting change actually works. Being the ideologue that only accepts your whole thing. Hold on, guys, 1 second. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Had to get the doorbell right. But this is a shit that kind of, when you saw this shit, like, it's just fucking unbelievable that you have so many people that literally were just you need to be pure. Exactly. Too many people that are so concerned with purity. But let's continue.
Sean over at the channel Actual Justice Warrior argued, Jimmy Dore is very much the logical conclusion of Cenk Uygur's ideas.
The best part about this is that Cenk Uygur has no possible way to respond to Jimmy Dore's arguments because all of Jimmy Dore's arguments are the exact things that Cenk Uygur said about politics and attacks other people with.
This is why, in the context of the...
Now, okay, so yeah, that was fucking stupid because what ends up happening is what Actual Justice Warrior was actually saying right there, and let's...
online left.
What Actual Justice Warrior was saying right there was that, well, if you don't agree with me, then you think I'm a if I don't agree with you, you think I'm a fascist. No, Actual Justice Warrior, you are a fucking fascist. You're a fucking authoritarian, and no, I'm not sorry. You're a fucking bigot. But, yeah, sure. Let's go.
That Cenk Uygur said about politics and attacks other people with.
This is why, in the context of the online left, Jimmy had the upper hand. The funny thing is, Cenk more or less conceded that Jimmy was right in terms of strategy, but on a different issue. In early March, the Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders put forth an amendment to the COVID relief bill that would have raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. The amendment was shot down, with every Republican and 8 Democrats voting no. The following day, Cenk Uygur made a post.
So, the funny fucking thing is this. What happened with the $15 minimum wage literally proves what Cenk and other people were saying about the force to vote. The fact of the matter is that something where there is so close of a razor's edge between the Democrats in Congress and the Republicans in Congress, and it fucking fails. Guess what happens? Guess what happens? What happens is this. That shit is defeated, and you don't hear shit about it anymore. You don't. When the last time you heard of a political stance about people in mainstream media pushing a $15 minimum wage? You don't hear stories about it. You fucking don't hear stories about it. And yet, this is what you want to do with Medicare for all? Now, the funny fucking thing about it is businesses now are going to actually have to look at compensating their employees more, especially now since they can't find enough people working. Of course, they're trying to petition the Biden administration of ending the unemployment plus up earlier so they can get the search back to the fucking mines. But the fact that, hey, it's not coming directly from the federal government to raise the minimum wage, Shit, Joe Manchin was talking about, well, it should be 11. When have you heard the rest of that shit? But, you know, force the vote is gonna make everything all peaches and rainbows and shit like that with no fucking organization on the ground. Because it just happens because politicians are scared and no. Let's continue.
Mortem video titled Burning My Bridges, The Truth About Progressives in Congress, where he did argue that there was some value in having the vote even though they lost. At least now they could hold those who voted against it accountable. Almost all of the top comments on the video are people saying Jimmy Dore was right. 2 days later, Jimmy made an hour-long response to this video, spiking the football.
So when you have a Mouse pass bill like this COVID relief plan, you're not actually killing the bill if you vote no. Because what is Biden going to do? Drop it? He's not going to drop it. That's not a thing that's possible. You can't drop this. You can't drop the budget. You can't drop the defense bill. Okay, those are must passes. So what you do is you force when you.
Oh, he almost said it.
Oh, Jimmy, right? Let's go.
He almost said it. You forced. He almost said it.
No.
So it looks like Jimmy was right after all, at least given the assumptions that both he and Jank share. But whether or not he's actually correct, meaning objectively, not just if you share progressive assumptions correct, remains to be seen. You see, even though I don't want Medicare for all, and I don't think the force the vote strategy would have worked, I wanted progressives in Congress to do it anyways. I wanted Jimmy and all the other online leftists in his camp to be the dogs that caught the car. When it comes
There we go. There the fuck we go. There we go. That's the shit. There we go. This is the shit that people like Jimmy play towards. And not only the fact that he plays towards this stupid bullshit, but he goes on Tucker Carlson and agrees with him. Talks all shit about Democrats, but never gets around to the Republicans. But Force the Vote was about, you know, of course, holding people accountable, not just for Jimmy's ego. By the way, his second day of the Force the Vote, you know, conference that he had would have been the day after they've already had voted on the Speaker of the House. I don't know. It just seems like Jimmy Dore was trying to get his hashtag turned in. But let's hear the rest of this video. This is actually not going to be long, but let's go.
to strategy, the online left deals so much in hypotheticals. If this happened and that happened, then we'd win elections. If only so-and-so had said the right words on the floor of Congress or in television ads, then the American people would rise up and support them. If only our elected representatives fought harder, whatever that means, then the Republicans and the establishment Democrats would fall in line. Elected representatives, even progressives, never do this to their satisfaction. So online leftists are always left wondering what could have been. Well, now that Bernie Sanders has forced the vote on a living wage, we can get a good test of their strategy in action. Now, I'll grant that the living wage isn't quite as high as Medicare for All on the progressive policy wish list. But if their theory of politics is in fact correct, then the politicians who voted against it should pay dearly at the ballot box. Medicare for All polls quite well, so too with the $15 an hour minimum wage. According to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, 59% of respondents approve, whereas only 34% disapprove. Now, I have my issues with polling, and I think that these are superficial examinations of the actual numbers in both
Of course, a right-winger that doesn't like facts. Of course, right? But let's go.
cases, but let's just take them at face value now for the purposes of our argument. Also, while the living wage isn't as important as healthcare, it is a huge existential issue for the American people, according to progressives.
Wait, a living wage isn't as important as healthcare. Shit. Like, he didn't really just say a living wage isn't as important as healthcare. Yeah, sure. Fucker. Anyway, let's
Finally,
go.
we got a formal vote on the issue. Granted, this was not an up or down vote on the actual bill, but an amendment to the relief bill. That said, there was enormous pressure to pass the bill anyways, and that likely would have been the case all the same. In fact, even more so if progressives are correct, even if the living wage amendment was in it. Furthermore, all the Democrats who voted against the amendment expressed concern about the policy per se, with most saying that $15 an hour was too high. The one exception to that was Angus King of Maine, who I should note is not a Democrat but an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. According to Maine Public Radio, King said he supports raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, though there's no direct quotation of him saying so. In terms of the merits of the policy itself, increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour, like Medicare for All, is a no-brainer.
I don't consider this issue a debatable issue. I really don't.
So, and he goes on about it, and this is just it. So, one of the things that, I'm going to say this. When we actually look at what happened with Force the Vote, yeah, it may have been big and bad that Jim actually had his bullhorn out there. And if you actually saw like one of his pictures, his early pictures, it's him screaming into a bullhorn in his own ear because he likes to hear the sound of his voice so much. Pot me kettle, do a YouTube channel. But the fact is, when you come half-cocked about any fucking program, any fucking political, any policy, if you just doing it half-cocked, then you're fucked. Even the planned forcing the issue or forcing the vote of the adding the $15 minimum wage has shown, even though there are plans and plans and plans, it has shown that once it fails, well, we get back to it later, and later never comes. And seeing it is so far out from any sort of election, it literally caused it. People are gonna forget about it. People are gonna forget about it unless it's a driving point, a driving factor. But you're online leftist that gets to call people out because they didn't follow your plan or your strategy because reasons, and now you're mad. And it just so happens that most of the people that he dogged and talked shit about were women, but it's not about him being mad. It's not about him. It's about a strategy, right? But anyway, guys. I do want to say thank you guys for watching this clip. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we can actually sit back in the chat and we can just have great conversations in the chat. Or if you're watching this on playback at my YouTube channel, Crimson60620, you can actually check me out there. Please, if you're watching that, like and subscribe. I'm almost at 100 or 560 people. You help make me get to that point. So I'm gonna ask that you actually show more support so I can get that magical number, so I can make sure that I can bring you guys more upgraded content from the different sources that I have. And by the way, if you actually want to help support the channel, you can actually check out my Streamlab links up top or my Patreon links down in the description. Thank you guys for watching the clip. If you're in chat, stick around. We have more videos to come. And if you're watching back later, hit the next video on the playlist. Thank you. I want to take the time to say thank you to my current patrons. And you can actually help support my channel for as little as $1 a month. Check out Crimson60620 PS4 Gaming. Thank you.